Hello friends and welcome back. In today's episode, I am going to be sharing with you a couple of thoughts on a book I read recently, but not just any old book. This book had quite a profound impact on me in the last couple of months because it's kind of the book that helped me get out of my creative funk. Yeah, I lost my heart for creativity for a while there, didn't know how to get it back, and this book really was filled with so many cool tips and tricks, just so much wisdom and information that it really did help me get myself back on track. So if you want to find out what that book is, stay tuned. First things first, if you're new around here, my name is Lalani and I make videos on Jesus and creativity. If that's something you're into, be sure to subscribe. But for today's video, I want to share with you guys a little bit of a journey that I've been on for the last year and a half or so. And on that journey, I really did lose my heart for creativity. I stopped making art for a really long time. At least it feels like a really long time. I got into a habit of creating almost daily, and I just started having these feelings of, well, what's the point? It doesn't matter. No one sees the value or the worth. It's so unimportant. It's so irrelevant. And I struggle to not feel completely boxed in, completely limited, and I just stopped creating. And I started trying to fight against this creative identity of mine. Yes, it's something I felt the Lord called me to, but it just felt way too hard. It felt too difficult, and I was like, surely this isn't all. Surely this isn't a part of what the Lord has called me to anymore. So with that in mind, at around, it's a good couple of months ago now, I made some really big life decisions. Now, these life decisions led to much change, and I thought to try and keep myself sane and navigate all the changes of life, I'm going to read a couple of the books that have been sitting on my shelf and really just dive in. You know, a couple of these ones at the back. The one that really stood out to me, the one that I really felt like I needed to read specifically in that season, was this one. It's called Keep Going by Austin Kleon. How to Stay Creative in Good Times and Bad. And this book is the third in a series by Austin Kleon. The first one is called How to Steal Like an Artist. The second one is Show Your Work. And the third one is Keep Going. And they all track this beautiful part in the creative process. So the first book really is about where you get your ideas from, which is amazing. It's so good. Read it. Show Your Work is how to put your work out there. How do you share your work with other people? And this one is all about, okay, cool, you're creating work and you're sharing it with other people, but how do you keep going? And to be honest, I never really had a desire to read this book. I just really wanted all three of them because they look so pretty on the shelf. Because just look at them. They feel so nice. They're gorgeous to look at inside. Austin has some of his illustrations and stuff in here, which is amazing. And yeah, I didn't really feel like I needed to read it at the time I bought it, which is probably about 3 years ago. But this year, I had to dust this book off and read it. And I'm so glad that I did. And today, I want to share with you the 3 things that I really took away from this book. Now, at the back, you can see he's got the 10 chapter headings there. So you can see all that's in the book, and it's so good. And within each chapter, there's little subheadings and little sub-ideas, which is so good. I'm saying so good a lot because it is so good. But this book has made such an impact on me. I could go through it with you page by page, and there'll be something I took away from it. But I'm going to focus on 3 things. So let's start off with number 1. In the first chapter of this book, Austin explores this concept of every day is Groundhog Day, which is basically that there's repetition in every day. But not just that there's repetition, but that this repetition, we should actually embrace it. Now, that goes very much against my little creative bubble. I don't know about you. In fact, they kind of feel counter-creative sometimes. But Austin presents this idea that these rhythms and routines actually help you navigate your life. It helps you navigate the ups and downs. It's not actually there to deter you. Now, my life up until this point when reading this book had very much lacked any routine and any rhythm of any kind. In fact, for me, it's sometimes very easy to have my life be run by my feelings. If I feel like it, I'll do it. If I don't feel like it, I'm definitely not going to do it. And I think there are some things in life where that's okay to do, but there are also very much a lot of things where it's not a practical way to live your life. Feelings are important, but they don't make for very good taskmasters. Austin says this in his book about making lists and getting into routines and having healthy habits. A little imprisonment, if it's of your own making, can set you free. Rather than restricting your freedom, a routine gives you freedom by protecting you from the ups and downs of life and helping you take advantage of your limited time, energy, and talent. A routine establishes good habits that can lead to your best work. Best of all, I think, is that when your days pretty much have the same shape, the days that don't have that shape become even more interesting. There's nothing like a good prison break, and playing hooky isn't as fun if you never go to school. What your daily routine consists of is not that important. What's important is that the routine exists. Cobble together your own routine, stick to it most days, break from it once in a while for fun, and modify it as necessary. I realize that my lack of routine, as much as it feels very creative and very arty, may actually be my undoing. As much as I love to kick against a bit of restriction, there is such a thing as being safe within the confines of boundaries. I think this is what you always tell parents, right? This is why kids need routine. It makes them feel safe. It makes them feel like they know what's coming next. It takes the up and down out of life, and it helps stabilize your emotions. It helps you feel like you're in a better frame of mind. And for some reason, I was like, why did I ever think that I would outgrow that? I don't know. And so when I look back and I look at my lack of routine and a lack of structure in a day, because bearing in mind, I work from home. Like, I am a graphic designer, I have a home office, so I can be a bit more flexible with my time, but not everything that can flex should necessarily bend, right? Now, this is definitely one of the things I'm still working on, but I think having read this book, this is way more in the forefront of my mind now. It's a hard one for me to wrap my head around, but it has definitely been helping as I've been trying to embrace this. Now, the second thing comes from a chapter in here called Make Gifts. And it's one of those things where I love books where the advice or the feedback or the input is not necessarily what you'd expect. And this was one of them. So Austin shares that basically what has happened in our society is the highest compliment anyone can ever give you is in marketable terms. So anyone who does anything creative, whether you bake cakes or draw pictures or do sewing, the greatest compliment someone can give you, right, at least by our standards, is if someone says, you should make a living out of this, like you could sell this, you should start a bakery, you need to commission your artworks. Like, this is the compliment. We have moved away from being a people with hobbies and passions and stuff we just enjoy to people with side hustles. And Austin basically make this point that not everything you're good at needs to be a side hustle. In fact, he says this: we're now trained to heap praise on our loved ones by using market terminology. The minute anybody shows any talent for anything, we suggest they turn it into a profession. This is our best compliment. Telling somebody they're so good at what they love to do, they could make money at it. We used to have hobbies, now we have side hustles. One of the easiest ways to hate something you love is to turn it into your job, taking the thing that keeps you alive spiritually and turning it into the thing that keeps you alive literally. You must be mindful of what potential impact monetizing your passions could have on your life. You might find that you're better off with a day job. When I read this, I realized here is a problem for me. I had received beautiful feedback from really beautiful people. Everyone encourages you, make it a business, go sell your things, do commissions, do all the things. And we think like that naturally. We are in a culture, I feel like I'm such a product of the generation, because you have a passion, it has to be a side hustle. It has to be monetized. I need to make an income from it. And the problem is because it's something you're really passionate about and something that you use to express yourself, either by getting other people involved, it kind of ruins it for you. Or when other people don't want to get involved, it feels like that thing that you're really passionate about is meaningless. I tried to turn my passion into something that can be monetized, something that I can make a living off of, which is not inherently bad. But I ended up losing perspective that regardless of the outcome, it's still a passion and it's still a joy and it's still something that I can do. And if it ever only stays a hobby, that's not a bad thing. Like, it's still a good thing. But all these things, it just helped me focus again, helped me realign and go, you know what? Some things, it's not about the money. It's not about what everyone says and they mean well. And even the way that I'm thinking about it, that you're really good at something or you really enjoy something, that has to be what you make money off. That is how you make your living. No, that's not entirely how it has to work. And it might be wise for all of us as a generation to start stepping out of that. So number 3 is from a chapter called You're Allowed to Change Your Mind. Now that chapter is very much a big reason why we're having this conversation right now. It's because of embracing change that I'm making this video, that we're even talking right now. I read this book when I was at the height of frustration because I wanted to do more. I wanted to change the direction of this channel a bit, the things I was posting, the things I was sharing, and what I like to call a ministry. I really wanted to expand it a little bit more. But I was so afraid of change because people don't always respond well to change. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I felt so stuck. And there was something in this chapter that was just so affirming and really just helped me break out of the mold a little bit. Let me read it for you. Social media has turned us all into politicians and brands. Everyone's supposed to be a brand now. And the worst thing in the world is to be off-brand. But to be on brand is to be 100% certain of who you are and what you do. And certainty in art and in life is not only completely overrated, it is also a roadblock to discovery. Uncertainty is the very thing that art thrives on. Isn't it so true? We've all become so brand obsessed that we've completely forgotten about discovery. Or maybe it's not we, maybe it was just me. But you get so obsessed with what is the right thing, what should it look like, what do people want to see, what will fit with the brand and with the look and with, the niche market or whatever it is, that we forget about discovery. I'd grown so frustrated because I'd stopped trying to discover. I'd stopped changing and growing and exploring, which really is the point of creativity, isn't it? As soon as I tried to explore in one thing, I felt like that was all I was supposed to do. And as soon as I explore in a different direction, okay, well, this is all I'm supposed to do now. But why? Why does it have to be that way? It doesn't. Austin presents this idea that even if you want to discover, but you don't really know how to do that, he's like, do it offline. If you want to go off brand, go offline. And it's almost like we forget that that's an option, right? As soon as you start putting your work out there, as soon as you start sharing it with other people, we forget that I actually have an option. I could go offline. I don't have to share everything that I do. Not everything is to be consumed by everyone. So with all of these things in my heart and in my hand, I felt like I had some tools to actually move forward, to actually break out of this place of stuckness that I felt I landed in. And so thanks, Austin Kleon, for this book. I highly recommend it if you feel stuck in your creativity at all. The 3 points I mentioned now is really 3 out of 10. And within the 10, there are so many sub points that are so good. And if this was a 45-minute video, I would go into all of them. But yeah, if you need some help, if you need a break out of your stuckness, use some resources. This is a great one. Give it a go. In fact, if you can, check out Austin's other 2 books as well. Really, really good. But yeah, that's how we got back on track. That is why you see art on this channel again. That's why I picked up my pencils and my paints again, is because I just needed someone else to shed some light on the matter for me, which was very, very helpful. I hope that you keep going though. It's a new year, it's a new season. Please do keep going with your creativity. I really feel like the Lord is doing amazing things with creatives all around the world, and you are one of them. So let's partner with him and let's do amazing things for the kingdom this year.